I really love rap. I mean, I think I got into rap from a young age. I remember me and my sister going to a CD shop to buy our first CD, and I bought DMX and she bought Ja Rule, and we listened to them ad nauseum, and you know, did the whole like cypher circle at school, learned how to beatbox, and every party you went to, you were freestyling pretty much.
As far as bands are concerned, I played in a bunch of bands when I was in high school. I played in a deathcore / melodic hardcore band, and I did that when I was about 16 to 18 years old. Before that, I played in a punk band, and then in between sort of those bands and college, I played in a pop rock band, cover band.
I played in a band not dissimilar to Nomads, actually. We played for about a year and a half, maybe, but it was, you know, we were all in school. When we did like Earth, Wind & Fire covers, I played bass, you know. It was just easier to play bass than play tuba. As a technicality, I'm a bassist, but I'm not influenced by any bassists at all. There's no sort of influence that I can derive from anyone that doesn't play the tuba.
I love heavy music. I love all types of music. I love trance. I frequented trance parties. They're always fun. So all of those influences are great, and they're all experiences on their own to go out and jolt to that live music and to make it. But I don't need to do all of those styles every single day in every single act that I do. I think bringing in influences is important, and staying true to yourself is important. But I think the band is kind of more important than all of that. And I like to feed myself into the band.
I think there's room for almost anything, for sure. We maybe get bored of ideas. Like it's quite chaotic music. It's quite ADD. So I feel like the way it's reflected in the music is also a reflection of us as musicians. We're wanting to try stuff. We want to throw things in that you couldn't do in other settings, but we can because we control the music.
I don't think there's so many styles we shouldn't explore. I do have a long list of styles we can explore though. I think as long as we're making people dance, we can explore anything. I think that's the foundation of it for me. Like,
I think we put dance in front of everything. We write from that perspective. And then there's also the sort of Eastern European influence. It's not there in every single song, but it's still in there in the album. So I think that's still there, but we've branched out a lot. I think there's a lot more African sounds in there, and maybe a little bit more jazz.
But you know, we're branching more and more away from those Eastern European sounds into other kinds of dance sounds. But I think if you come and watch a show, it still stays true. It still feels like classic Nomads party, whatever the styles we sort of choose to do. That will always kind of be the core of what we do.
Well, I wish I was. I mean, we all sometimes feel like being ourselves can be a bit too much. I guess some people don't, and props to them, you know, if they were born with those good genes that keep them happy and satisfied with their life as it is. But you know, I'm someone who has always enjoyed alternative lifestyles like skateboarding and art, you know, adventure stuff, cold water swimming, but that's not exactly who I am. Yes, I skateboard, but I'm pretty sucky at it. I like to climb in mountains, but I'm not fit, and I complain most of the way. And yeah, I'm kind of overweight, and you know, wish I didn't deal with a lot of the kind of issues in my head that I do, and just want to get out of my head. And like, how we can't get out of our head, right? The only truth that we have is our perception of life. We never really get the chance to see things from another perspective. So I guess that song just speaks to that, and it says, you know, it's okay if you're not cool or rich or make everyone think you're cool. You know, that's just how it is. You just got to carry on.
That was interesting because some of the parts of the song weren't designed together. It was two completely different songs that we had written. Both of them were missing something. Both of them didn't have like the next section that it went into. And we played one, we played the other, we played one, we played the other, and then we started seeing how they could actually start fitting together. And initially I thought it was a bit of a weird idea because there were kind of two different sounds, but the more we played it, the more I realized in sort of a juxtaposition, they sort of lock in together really well. So that was kind of an inspired process where two totally different songs just got hooked into each other and fused as one. So I think, yeah, from that perspective, it's really important to try new things for our own sake, because we want to, but also for your sake and for the audience's sake, because it's nice to listen to fresh things.
yeah.
It's interesting you bring them up together because Jono Prest wrote both the main ideas of those songs, and then he had spaces for some words. He always had the name Hitman. I'm pretty sure I think he had that name already. Or did I bring the name? I can't remember. I must ask him about it. But essentially, it's about being a musician, or as I said, a craftsman or a laborer in this industry. And even if you put in your 10,000 hours of work, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to pay off.
I think the main thing is that when we recorded them before, we were still trialing a lot of things. As the 5 of us that recorded, the first takes of those were our first time as that group in studio. And so I think there was some things we came in not knowing, like how do we want to lay things out, how do we want to position things, where do we get the best sound and stuff. Those kinds of things are kind of trial and error.
We had to be a lot more vocal about our needs and wants, which made the process far more strenuous, I think, emotionally. I think we would all remember times where we sat listening to parts, struggling to make up our minds as to what was the right choice. And there wasn't really someone above us giving us that guidance, going like, go with that, go with that, go with that.
I appreciated that there was openness to those kind of suggestions when they came. Sometimes it was stuff that we would try in the moment and then didn't necessarily make it into the mix, because it might have felt like a little bit overkill, or, maybe stacking harmonies didn't actually work, but in the moment we just thought, let's give it a try. It was great that the band was open to those suggestions and trying stuff without shooting it down before actually hearing what it sounds like.
Hitman, I think back to the gig at the Kirstenbosch Garden. It's like, that's, I think, the pinnacle in this country. It's one of the best venues around, and probably like even on an international stage.
Kirstenbosch, beginning of 2020, with Freshly Ground.
Kirstenbosch 2020 was probably a highlight, just because it's such a big pinnacle of performance to do in Cape Town.
I'm sure everyone else is going to answer this similarly, but our New Year's Eve show opening for Freshly Ground at Kirstenbosch Gardens was next level. It's just crazy to see that many people going crazy for you. It's a lot of responsibility, but at the same time, it's exhilarating. That was an epic gig.
Sanity. It's funny, now that I'm thinking about all these songs, they all actually kind of have a very similar feel. Sanity talks about that perception of oneself. You only have the perspective that you have from inside your brain. And we are all born, kind of malleable. We're born in this kind of flux state, and we all have a lot of things we are able to do, but the world kind of pushes back at us and tells us we're wrong, and tells us, we're not dressing right, or we're not thinking right. And, definitely coming from a more conservative background, a lot of the things I used to think or want to do just seemed to be against the grain, and something that all of my grandparents and parents said was not a good way to be. So you kind of start thinking down on yourself. But I do believe that there's a huge alternative lifestyle that one can embrace that tells you, hey man, you can swear and graffiti and do what you want, but if you're a good person to the people around you, you're not having a negative effect on the world, like, what's anyone got to say about your behavior or your thoughts or your actions?
When you record in a different space with different gear, you get a different feel, and we wanted a coherency in the album, so that's why we chose to re-record those tracks as opposed to the first take that we did.
It's a very tiring song. I do enjoy the content, I do enjoy the energy, but playing it is quite a physical danger. I mean, it's hard to call any of your children your least favorite, so I'd rather politely decline to answer further.
Having us be kind of weird and kind of be ourselves and not like stand at attention and kind of play. Having us do that on stage definitely opens up to the audience the opportunity to kind of be free and move around and just